But thank you for being here today for our NCSIS statewide check-in. You can go ahead and grab the link that's up there if you want to follow along with us on the slides. You can refer back to that later. Dr. Dietrich, we think we're ready to go.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for being here. This is an exciting time where, for some of you, this may be the fourth time you've transitioned to a new student information system. We appreciate, number one, we greatly appreciate the phase one folks that may be on this call for your work and effort to have a successful year last year and help ensure that phase two will get off to a good start this year. I do want to thank everyone for being here. We have a lot of information to give you today. Please let us know if you have any questions through the QA document they have. And please remember, we are partners with you in this and look forward to working with you this year to make sure that you have a good experience for phase two as well. Thank you very much, Rory.
All right, so we're going to get started. So you do see the link here to the presentation. We're also going to make sure that's in the chat for you today, as well as, let me get, here we go. So we have some helpful links we just want to review really quick for you. At the top, you'll see the NCSIS knowledge base. That has all of our articles, or what we used to refer to as QRDs in PowerSchool. So now we have a NCSIS knowledge base, and it will have the articles. So anytime that we do any type of North Carolina process, you'll be able to find the information there. For any types of training or meetings that the SIS professional learning team does, you will be able to find that information in Eventbrite. So that will be things like NC Bold, today's session, or any regional training or meetings that we hold. You'll see the Q&A form here on this slide. That information will also be added in the chat. That's where you want to go to ask your questions today. So you'll submit a form, and then you will be able to see the answers on the link that's listed here as well. If you don't immediately see that answer, just check back and we will update that information. So we do have members of the SIS Professional Learning Team on the call today. So I have Erin Foyle, Karen Jimison, and Amy Howe, as well as Cami Nairn, who's here from Rob's team. And we're lucky enough to have Dr. Dietrich joining us today for today's call. Not sure why my mouse doesn't want to work. All right. Please make sure that you are signed up to receive the weekly NCSIS bulletin. This is our main mode of communication for you. So every week, every Thursday, we're sending out this bulletin. It'll give you the latest updates, latest training, any articles that have been updated. So please, if you're not already receiving that, make sure you sign up for that. As well as you can stay up to date on the NCSIS if you go to ncsis.gov, and we regularly update information there as well. All right, so we did it. We are all finally on one SIS together, phase one and phase two. So it's been a great journey together. We are so appreciative of our phase one folks and so excited to have phase two on board too. So we have some important updates to give you today, as well as some reminders and some information. And Cami from Rob's team is here today to give you some course information guidance as well. And then we will finish today talking about some upcoming training opportunities. So give yourselves a round of applause and a pat on the back for all the hard work you've done. We are really excited and very proud to have worked alongside you all during this time. So thank you very much.
And that can't be said enough. One of the things that was very important to everyone here is we wanted you to truly understand that we were in this with you every step of the way. And I hope that you felt that if you were phase one, and I hope you felt that if you were phase two, that we were there to help you, guide you through, and make sure that we gave the best possible support and best possible experience for you. And the other thing I would say, that I think no matter what kind of day you've had, if you can't look at that picture and smile just a little bit, I hope it adds a smile to your face today.
All right, so we're going to get started with some updates. So Rob's going to start us off with some state reporting updates.
We are working with PMR, and what I mean by that is currently the PMR is set up that if you have fatal errors, it doesn't show. We're working to make it so that you can still see it, but not submit it. But what I would recommend in either case, that you need to run the PMR validations and run them frequently after your first day of school. This does lots of things. This allows you to make sure that your data is clean by the time that you get to your last day of the month for your PMR window cycle. It allows you to clean your fatals throughout the month, so you're not doing them in mass at the end of the month, which some phase 1 schools did, and it just took some time to clean those up. And it also shows you your numbers and where you are looking from a number standpoint based on ADM. So please make sure that you are running those reports frequently so that you get in that habit of, every other day, once a week, whatever you had determined is best for your PSU. But I don't recommend waiting until the month is over and then running them, because it just may take a little bit of time. I just got off the phone with Infinite Campus and we were discussing this in another meeting. If you're new in phase 2, when you run your validations, and you kind of run them in batch, which means you're going to generate your PMR. You're going to go to your PMR, you're going to hit generate. Please, when you hit generate, give it the time to run in the background and do its thing. If you're concerned it's taking a little bit of time, there's a refresh button that you can hit that says refresh. Hit that refresh button. Please do not hit generate over and over and over and over again, because what you're doing instead of refreshing is you are generating a new report, and that will create a backlog. So please ensure that you hit generate once, give it a little while to run, come back, hit refresh, and then you should see the information that you need. Please make sure that your school month window is set up before submitting. And one of the key things that I really need you to do, you're running it every so often, you're clearing your fatals, it looks good. Please do not approve your PMR until that window has closed. If you approve a PMR without waiting until your PMR deadline is over for that month, and therefore the next day, so on day, that day 21, please make sure that you wait till that day has passed, the last day of the month, because if you approve it then or prior, it will give you a membership last day of 0. So please make sure that you are waiting and submitting after that month window has ended. Validation reports are there for you to be able to run. Please run those frequently. Next slide, please. GDV is in production. To validate, you want to run the graduation data verification report in 2024-25. Turn off show active year only, and make sure that your calendars are checked and are correct for 24-25. You want to make sure that all your summer graduates are in the system by August 11th. Those graduates must be dated by August 6th, and regular graduates to count in the 24-25 school year. Next slide. Dropout and retention and promotion. Fortunately, because we had phase 1 jump in, we were building reports throughout the year. So a lot of reports are already generated and available to run. We are still building some reports. So dropout is an example. Retention promotion is an example. We are still building some of these. They are in development, and they will be available soon. As someone who used to work with dropouts pretty heavily in the county I came from, I know how important it is to get those names to you so UP can begin looking for those students to get them back in school or locate where they are now. But they will be available soon. We will keep you posted through the bulletin as to progress. Next slide.
All right, and here we have some updates. One of the things that we want to point out for phase 1 and phase 2 is we have the 24-25 EOY phase 2 timeline. This is for all PSUs, even though it says phase 2 timeline, has great information for phase 1 as well. So you want to check here for some status updates. We're going to go ahead, and I think Rob was going to talk about some of these. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, but you can see here all the different statuses, and some of these have already been completed because we've been going through, obviously, the EOI process. So you will see if an item has been completed or if it's still in progress. So again, this is great for both phase 1 and phase 2. But if you scroll down further to the bottom, you can see some items that will be added later. So you can see here we have some things for Infinite Campus, and we have just not started yet that they should be expected between July and August. I don't know if you wanted to add anything there, Rob.
Sure, I can. These are items that we are pulling and providing to Infinite Campus, and they're loading into the system. Again, thanks to phase 1, we've got a system down pat, so we can get this to you a little bit sooner than what has been provided for phase 1. But we are making this kind of our go-to document. We're reviewing this document very frequently with Infinite Campus and making adjustments to the in progress not started, so you can see the status of all these data points in your system as we work through the process. Thank you.
Please. We have some other items down here further down towards the bottom, and these are items that are going to be added after EOI by NCDPI. So you can also see here the items. If you have staff members or leadership asking you about certain statuses and you're not sure, you remember you saw it somewhere, come to this document because more than likely it's here, and you can check that status or share this link with your leadership, and so they can also see that information. I didn't know if we wanted to talk about maybe the e-transcript or the PESC mapping.
We can. Those are items. The e-transcript will resume operations on July 11th, and the PESC mapping is being done by DPI, and that is not something that you should have to worry about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so one of the next updates we have is the student locator tool. So if you click on the first link there, you can request access to this. So this is a way that you can search for a student and find out what their latest enrollment is all over the state. This does not replace the student UID. Remember that you're always going to search for a student before you do anything with enrollment. You're always going to search that student UID, but you can use the student locator tool. There is an NCSIS article there that'll take you through the steps of that. So it's good for finding the most recent enrollment as well as overlapping enrollments for students. Please note though, and this is also on that guide that we just left, that this tool will not be accurate until July 14th because we need to wait for statewide syncing to be complete. So that is noted there. But again, remind your people if they request access to this or if they're using it, that it does not replace that search that you need to do for that student UID, because we want to ensure that we are getting the correct students and not creating any duplicates. All right, day events. So for phase 2, we've had a lot of PSUs asking for day events. So we have a newly published day events article that you can click on there, and it'll take you through the steps of adding day events to your core attribute dictionary. Let me do that so we can just take a look at that. So you can see here you're going to have your steps as far as how to add, and then there's also a list here. It's really important that you have this list and follow it as far as the standard codes. You can have other day events that you're using, but they have to map back to one of these standard codes. So what I mean by that is if you have here, you have an abbreviated day. So that could be an early release, or you could have holidays, but you might want to designate your holidays by name. You can do that as long as you map it back to the standard code. So that is a newly released article and is listed here within this presentation. We are asking for PSUs to update this information by Monday, July 14th at 5 p.m. So we realize that's a big ask. We appreciate you. That information will get sent out in the bulletin as well. If you have any questions or need assistance, please reach out to our team, to your assigned SIS professional learning consultant, and we're happy to help you with that. So again, that list is listed there. You can add additional day events, but you want to make sure they map back to one of those standard codes. Next item up is student transfer records. Please ensure that you are requesting and transferring your student records in a timely manner. And you can check that using one of the PMR validation warning reports. It's warning O2, and it will show you any student that has an incomplete student transfer. We want to make sure that we're doing that quickly because we all know how it is at the beginning of the year, right? Your student starts out with you for a day or two, and then they move across town and are going with another PSU, maybe even within a different district. And we want to make sure their records are complete. So when they're enrolling, make sure that you're getting that information, but also check your students before you end an enrollment. Make sure that they have that historical information there. Because if you don't and CFNC pulls that transcript, it is going to be blank. So you want to make sure that you are properly and timely requesting those records and getting that information. So you have that reminder there. For enrollment history, we are working towards getting enrollment history merged from last year to this year, having the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. So we will update you with more information on that as we get that information ready. You also have a link here to your report card setup, so you will be able to create your report card template. You can modify this to your PSU needs, and then you can copy it to other calendars using the roll forward wizard. So you can use the report roll forward wizard to copy that. So you do have that template there if you need to work on your report card setup. All right, for e-transcripts, we already talked about this a little bit when we talked about the phase 2 timeline, but that PESC mapping will be pushed by DPI. Credit recovery, we know that we've got some new information going on with that this year. We are working on finalizing directions, and that information is going to be coming to you soon. We're also working on events and actions. So if you have any suggestions, we have a survey there linked below that you can go ahead and click on. This has also gone out in the bulletin. So thank you to those that have filled this out and given us some suggestions. We will take those into account. So more on that to come as well. All right, now we have some important reminders. It is critical that we have this information set up correctly for your calendar year. So if you're going to go to your school setup and your calendar information, you want to make sure you have your date set up for July 1st to June 30th. So you have your images here to make sure you've got that information in the proper places. This is crucial for state reporting, and it also affects third parties, vendors' ability to pool your students. So some of you had reached out to us and said, hey, you know, Clever wasn't able to access my students, and it's because you didn't have that information populated. So please make sure as you're beginning your year and going through your checklist that you're making sure that your school year setup and your calendar information have that 7/1 to 6/30 date. Also important to make sure that you have complete is your student day and teacher day information, as well as your whole day absences and half day absences. So for your student day, that's your amount of instructional minutes per day. And it does differ than your teacher day. Your teacher day is your minutes from the time the teacher arrives and leaves. So those should not be the same. So you've got an image there to refer back to. You also have the whole day absence minutes, and you're going to want to copy that information into your half day absences because North Carolina doesn't use half days. So you want to go ahead and just make sure that those match and you have that information there. You can also see in the other image that your instructional minutes match, in this case, with that period schedule information. This may or may not be the case for you. In this case, this might be a high school that has a 4-period day, so their instructional minutes match on both of these screens. But it could differ if you're at a middle school and you have different grade level schedules. So you might have a different schedule for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In that case, your instructional minutes will not match, and that's okay. All right, we're going to talk about a no-show and how to process that. So I've got some steps here listed out, and then we have some images for you to refer back to. So you want to make sure your start and end date are changed to 7/1. So you're going to want to use that 7/1 date, and you want to check the no-show box. If any attendance was taken, it will delete once you check that box and have those dates there. Your schedules will also be dropped as of that 7/1 date. but no worries. We all know that as soon as we drop a student, what happens? They show up the next day, right? You can go back and restore that schedule. So you just want to make sure that you're properly processing these. And then remember that once you have made a student a no-show, when you go to search for them, you're not going to find them under all students. They're going to be under all people. We do have our article here to walk you through that no-show process. And here you can see if you're a person like me and you're visual, you're like, I need to read it and I need to see it. Here's your slide. So you can see that you have that start and end date of 7/1. Your no-show box is checked. And we also have that local end status of W1 as well as your end comments. So please follow your PSU's guidance for your end comments. Make sure you're putting in what is required. It is also vital that you do put in those 7/1 dates for your no-shows because that affects downstream systems such as ECATS. So please make sure you're following the guidance for your no-show. And when you get all done with that information, don't forget to click on save. Okay, so we've got that highlighted there as well. All right, and we have just published the summer graduate information. So if you click on the link there, that's going to take you to our summer graduate articles in our NCSIS knowledge base for a summer graduate that is before August 7th. So this is for a student that is completing after your last day of school, but before August 7th. You're going to want to change that end status for that 24-25 enrollment to a W6. You're going to leave the end date as the last day of school. And you are going to do something a little different here. You're going to have an end action of retained, and this will reflect the student status as of the end of school, right? Because they didn't graduate on that last day of school, so we're going to enter that R for retained. Add your end comments as appropriate, so follow your PSU guidance on that. An example would be for this situation for a summer graduate before August 7th, you might have an end comment of post EOY grad. Again, follow your PSU's guidance on what comment you want there. Remember to add any transcript grades for any summer school classes to that 24-25 school year. For your summer grads that are on or after August 7th, you're going to leave your 24-25 enrollment as it is, and then you're either going to add or edit your 25-26 enrollment. You're going to make sure your start and end date are the date that the student graduates. So whenever they met the graduation requirements, your start status will be an E1, your end status will be a W6. Again, put in your end comment as directed by your PSU. So this one might be summer graduate. And you want to make sure your admission status is a VST1 for visitor. This will keep that student from showing as a warning on your PMR report. All right, so we have the guidance here. You can see for the summer grads before August 7th. On your graduation screen, you're going to have your diploma date and the diploma period of regular. So you can enter here when the student actually completed, have the diploma period as regular, and then over on your enrollment screen, this is where you're going to have that end action of retained and the end status of a W6 as well as your comment. And then for your summer graduates that are on or after August 7th, your diploma date for your graduation will be whatever date they actually completed their requirements. But here, your diploma period will be summer. Right, so that's the difference there between the before August 7th and then the on or after. And then here for your enrollments, you're going to have your start and end date match the date that they completed. So that'll match your diploma date. You'll have your W6 end status and then whatever your PSU guidance is for your end comments. Don't forget down at the bottom under state reporting fields, this is where you're going to have that VST1 admission status. Right, so if you're like me, you will refer back to this when processing your summer grads so that you can look at it to make sure you're doing it correctly. All right, I'm going to turn it over to my teammate, Erin, to give you some more information.
Thank you, Rory. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of other reminders and updates. First up is ECATS. So ECATS will start their sync after the state sync is finished. And that should be here in the next several days by the end of the week. Also, in order for that sync to work, we need you to have all of your calendars done. So Rory talked about that a little bit earlier with the day events being available now. We do want that complete by the end of the day on July 14th. But also don't forget your program calendars. So you now have that NCDPI school. For those of you that are in phase 2, you're not quite used to the NCDPI school yet, but you have that school with your calendars underneath it that represent what we used to have as our program schools. And those calendars also need to have this process run on them, so they will sync up to the state and then sync over to ECATS. So do be sure that you're doing that. And of course, phase 1, make sure that you've gone into those program calendars and run the day reset for those also. You'll use the dates of the calendar for that. So 7/1 through 6/30. And that, again, that's only for the program calendars. Your actual school calendars, that's where you would use that first day of school to last day of school when you run that process. All right, next slide, please. All right, a couple of other things that have come up a lot recently as we're getting started to the new year. On your transcripts, in order for your transcripts to display properly, you must have graduation programs added to all of your students. So the instructions are there linked below there where it says graduation program. You can click on that and see the instructions. They can be added in mass. You can also add them in individually. Now on the transcript, that will allow the credit summary to show up for your students, for your high school students that do have those credits that they've earned towards graduation. Be aware that that credit summary is not their progress towards their graduation requirements. That is simply a summary of the credits that they've earned and attempted. So even though it does have that required and remaining columns on there, that is not about the graduation requirements. Really, the most useful part of that particular table is just how many they've earned and how many they've attempted. So that's really good information to have, but it doesn't show until you actually assign the graduation program to them. So you want to make sure all of your high school students do have that graduation program assigned to them that is appropriate for their cohort. Also, what we used to know as the 9th grade entry date, which is now the date first entered the 9th grade on your graduation tool. Those dates do no longer have to be mass populated. So we used to have to put all those in, but now they are auto-populated based on the student's first 9th grade enrollment. So you do not have to go in there and do that for the vast majority of your students. Now, if you enroll a student that's coming from out of state into a grade level that is higher than 9th grade, then you will need to manually put that one in for those students because they will not have a 9th grade enrollment that will indicate when that date should be to the system. So you will have to manually put those in, but if you have somebody who is transferring from another PSU, you don't have to put that in. It will come over with the records transfer. I think Rob had something he wanted to say about transcripts also.
Yeah, if I could just add one piece to this. With transcripts, please remember in Infinite Campus, GPA is on the fly. And that is a huge switch for folks coming in phase 2. In Power School, you had a date, the GPA was, but class rank was a certain date. It was on this date, this is what your rank was. In Infinite Campus, you have GPA and class rank are live. So a kid could be 15 on Monday, some students move in, all of a sudden they're 20 because 5 students moved in with a higher GPA, and you've got those grades entered in the system. Please know that is a huge difference between the two systems. So just please be aware of that. Thank you.
All right, on to some scheduling board reminders for our phase 1 PSUs. Phase 2, you're not using scheduling board quite yet, so you don't have to worry about these. But for our phase 1 PSUs, as you are working in your scheduling board, now that we have switched over into the 25-26 year, you will need to unlock terms in order to work in your trial. Now, the confusing thing about that part is when you go to unlock the terms, you uncheck all the boxes and then you must click open, not save. And that will actually, it'll give you plenty of warnings. So you're not accidentally changing a trial that you didn't mean to change, but you can open it at that point and work on it. And so you you can work in your scheduling board, but really you only want to work into it until you're done manually scheduling. I mean, you're done with the mass scheduling and you want to start manually scheduling. So once you start manually scheduling, you will want to go ahead and lock the terms and take away the tool rights to prevent those accidental changes to that particular trial in a mass way through the scheduling board. We probably have paused our syncs. If you'll go back just a minute, we probably have paused some of our syncs out to our third-party systems because we are working in the scheduling board. And just remember that as you finish working in the scheduling board and you're finishing up those manual schedules, you do want to unpause them or turn them back on. So you do start feeding your data out to those third-party systems. Also, if you have if you find yourself in the 25-26 year and you look and your schedule is not the one that you really thought it was going to be, in other words, if you have a different trial that's set as active than you meant to, you can simply go into the correct trial, check the active box and save, and that will actually switch everybody's schedules over to that particular trial. So the schedules that everyone sees are really just the ones that are in the trial that are marked active, and you can change that now, which is another reason why it's really important to take the tool rights away to all of that once you're set on a trial and once you're done using that scheduling board. So just a couple of reminders there. For everybody, the course and section attributes, be aware that they are not showing correctly. Right now it's a known problem and they converted incorrectly, but the dictionaries, they are not quite right. So they're showing as different things than you might anticipate. You'll really see this in your community college classes that have that post-secondary institution as something different than what you might expect to see. Please do not modify them at this point. They will be being fixed programmatically by Infinite Campus, and so we will let you know as soon as that's finished. Another thing for our Phase 2 PSUs, super important. Right now you are going through and verifying all of that converted data, the stuff that came over from PowerSchool. You really want to go through line by line, as tedious as it might be, the BOI document and the Go Live checklist. Go through that line by line and reviewing your calendar and period setup for every school and reviewing student schedules in every school. Making sure that you do that will make sure that you have data that is good. Don't assume that it will be exactly the way you asked for it to be, exactly the way that you thought it would be. Do go look and make sure. And of course, if it is not the way you think it should be, you'll talk to your implementation team to have them fix those pieces that are not correct. And we have a couple of pieces of information that I think Roy's going to go over.
Yep. Thank you, Erin. We want to make sure that you are keeping your data clean, right? We've all worked so hard, both Phase 1, Phase 2, to clean our data. So you want to make sure, just like your PMR validations, we want to make sure that you're running your other data validation reports, but especially your census household cleanup report, because this is going to show you any household where students are not in a household, or they're in without an address, or they're in a household without guardians. So please make this a habit to run this and check this. This is a great way for you to keep your data clean. So if you're like I was when I was a data manager, and I kind of like to keep track of things and know what I should be running weekly or monthly, this would be on my weekly list. So that I want to make sure that when I'm creating my households, I'm doing it correctly, because this affects everything, right? This can affect your parent portal. You want to make sure you have the right guardians attached, transportation, anybody who's needing to review information for students. We want to make sure that household information is set up correctly. And it's a little bit different for us, right? We didn't have actual households in PowerSchool. So this is a great check for you to use. So if you're like me and you create a checklist for yourself, you go ahead and put this in your top 3, right up there with your PMR validation reports. All right, another really crucial item is making sure that you are properly changing addresses. So when you go to change an address, you want to make sure that you are using your start and end dates. So you're going to search for your household first. So you're going to search for your household name, and then under related tools, you're going to click on household addresses. You don't want to search for the household and then just click on the address, because that takes you to the address information screen. That is different. That is not where you want to change your address. You want to change it under household addresses. You're going to go ahead and click on that previous address and give it an end date. Remember, in Infinite Campus, lots of things are date driven, and all that data is being used. But why it's important for addresses is this gives you that household information. In Infinite Campus, addresses are their own piece of information. So when you're using that start and end date, you're saying that this household was had this address at this certain point in time with that start and end date. So you want to make sure that you're populating that. So once you've end dated that previous address, you can search for the new one. If it's found, you click on that address, or you click on new address. Now this might be different at different PSUs, right? And you might not have that access, but if you do, it is vital that you do this correctly. So there is a note down there at the bottom: do not delete an address. Again, you want to use that end date. And then I think Rob wanted to speak a little bit about that access to addresses.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Rory. I think it's very important, especially phase two and some phase one folks, if you're here, please remember addresses are run very differently in Infinite Campus. An address in Infinite Campus has its own table. So it is a table. If you change an address on not on household addresses like we have here, but you physically go to the addresses screen and change an address, it is one series of fields that says add a street, add a number. That is using it for everyone across the district. So if you were to change a number there and change it to 140, let's say you change it to 148 because you put in 147 by accident, and you change the 147 to a 148 on that street, if you haven't just associated on this screen that she's showing now, you've actually changed the address, and now you have two addresses in your addresses that will be the match and same, and you've lost 148 and you've adjusted it for everyone else that used to have that old address. I recommend, if you are a SIS coordinator on this call, very, very few people have the ability to go in and physically change numbers or street names on your addresses. This process, household addresses, associate it, search for an address, pick that address, associate it, is different than the ability to go in and physically change that address in the table itself. So please be very cautious who you give access to and access to change addresses in the table itself. I hope that made sense, because it is a change in mentality in shifting from Infinite Campus and shifting to Infinite Campus from Power School. Because in Power School, you could change addresses and it didn't have much of an impact. Here, if you change that physical address, it has a very large impact on what happens. Thank you. And Rory, feel free to clean that up if I didn't do a good job.
No, that was great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we cannot stress enough how important it is to properly change addresses within Infinite Campus. So please follow these steps, and please put in your dates. It's crucial. All right, so here we are. We're looking at some report information that is available to you for multiple enrollments. So if you go to student information, there are 3 different reports where you can search for multiple enrollments. You have an enrollment overlap report, a state enrollment overlap report, and then a state enrollment verification report. So those 3 reports are available to you for your review. You also have the Parent Portal self-service tool available. So if you would like to enable this, you have the steps here. We've also sent this out in the bulletin, and it will continue to be there probably till the beginning of school, because we want to make sure that you have this option because it's very convenient. So if you do select this, do keep in mind you have to wait 24 hours before you'll see those associated schools appear. But this was a great benefit for our phase 1 PSUs. We really like this. So this is available. So if you have not enabled this, you have the steps to do so now. All right, turn it back over to Erin.
All right. I want to jump back to ECATS for just a minute because Tessa messaged and wanted us to know that ECAT Sync, although it will start after the state sync, they have a process that they have to go through. So ECATS really won't be available or synced up until next week at some point. So didn't want you to think it was going to happen just as soon as the state sync was finished. Also, the EDDI integration with Infinite Campus. So where EDDI feeds information to Infinite Campus about the schools that are currently open and the grade levels that they offer, that will actually start running on July 11th. So we'll go back and put that into some of the slides a little bit earlier, but we wanted to let you know that integration will actually start running on July 11th. All right, so
yes.
we'll.
Can I?
Yes.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for touching base on that. So with that, EDDI is going to start. It's not going to be like the morning of July 11th because we still have one more PSU that'll be coming online. So we can't give an exact ETA, but it'll probably be on July 11th once that PSU exists in the state edition. And EDDI is going to function from our state edition and push down. So what that means is you need to make sure by July 11th that all of your data in EDDI is correct. That means your grade levels, check your official school names. I know I've seen some new schools that were added that have the school name, and then in the official school name, it shows the county name or the district name. So that means if you have a new school that was just added, make sure you go verify that official name in EDDI because that official name is what is going to be in the SIS. So if that name is incorrect, it's going to update your school with the incorrect name. So just make sure you're checking that. The staff files are not going to be starting on July 11th. That's going to come a little later. And that's just basically, I think, with the principals and the superintendents and the SIS. So whatever you have in there now will not be updated. We will communicate out once the staff files are feeding from EDDI into the SIS as well.
Right,
thank you.
Thanks, Tessa. I'm on to updating rosters. So now that we, actually this is for phase 1 and phase 2, now that we're getting closer to the beginning of school, you'll want to start actually just working with rosters. And so you can use request in rosters. Just a reminder that you will want to make sure that that inactive students checkbox in the filter is checked so you can actually see students if you're going to be using requests and rosters from the student point of view. You want to make sure that that checkbox is checked. Also, some other tools that you might want to use, the student gap scheduler and the walk-in scheduler. With all of these tools, it's really important to remember that you do not want to add start dates or end dates to that roster if the student will be in class the entire term. So it assumes, the system assumes that if the start date is blank or the end date is blank, that they're there from the start to the end. You will only put those dates in if they're going to start or end at a date other than that. If you add those dates in, it does impact certain ad hocs, certain pieces of logic inside the system will not show up the way you expect them to. So it's really important to leave those dates blank if they are starting on the first day or ending on the last day. Also, you want to make sure to only delete a roster if the student never attended the class. If a student does start a class, then you would want to put the end date in for them instead of deleting that roster. If you delete it, it gets rid of attendance, grades, all of it. So make sure that you are not deleting rosters if a student did attend that. Now here before school starts, if you're still before school, it's fine to delete it. But after school starts, you'll not want to do that. We did link a presentation from the NC Connect symposium that we had that goes through the requests and rosters, the student gap scheduler, the walk-in scheduler, all of those different tools. So you have some information about each one of those things. A couple of tips and warnings. I did talk about how deleting the enrollment would delete all the grades and attendance. By the same token, if you end a section enrollment, and if you end it too early, it's going to remove any attendance and grades that are after that date. So you do want to make sure that when you end a section enrollment that you are ending it on the correct date. And remember, for our phase 2, that is now the last day that they sat in a seat. It's no longer the day after the last day they sat in a seat. It is the last day they sat in a seat. Requests and rosters is available to you after the school year starts. However, you want to be extremely cautious or maybe not use it at all after the school year starts, because the potential is there to delete a lot of data that you did not mean to delete. So if you do use it, be very cautious and know exactly what you're doing. I would always test it out in your sandbox first before you actually do it in your production site. And last but not least, importing student and staff emails is available to you through the data import wizard. So we linked some instructions here, but we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that you can import student emails and staff emails. You'll just go through that data import wizard and the instructions are there. I think next up we have some course information, and Cami Naren's going to take that over.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about course information. As you know, courses do get updated quite often in North Carolina. However, this 25-26 course master list is now currently posted with almost all the updates. Well, all the updates are in it now. So if you look in this link at the 25-26 course master list version 7, we are currently getting ready to update all the state course code names that needed to change after 24-25 EOY completed. So those I will be pushing down hopefully on July 12th. This is pending all the syncs from all the phase 2 PSUs are syncing up to the state edition, and we'll get those posted down. But that list should be complete. I always appreciate if you find anything that's not looking kosher out there on that list, do email me and we will be glad to investigate and make sure everything's all right on that list. Where do you go to see your course codes? One area is course code setup. However, if you go out there now, you're going to see a red box. This is moving over to course management at some point later this summer, early fall, not quite sure yet. But do know that you can still go out here to look for course codes and see, and I'll put a screenshot here, the course names and course codes, and if there's a start year and an end year on those course codes as well. Course management currently only shows to NCDPI. We are now managing courses in the state edition, which is where I'll be pushing out these new course names from. Next slide, please. So here's a view of your course masters and the course master information. So when I push out the new names, they will be found in the state code and in the state code name. It will not affect your local number or your local name. However, you might want to review, now that we've got new course names, whether you need to update your course names. So just review those. I'm also pushing down in the state defined portion of the course setup, the grade level, which will match that character, the Y, the X, or the Z, or the P. So the grade level will be pushed out as well, and the academic level, if it's a 2 or 5 or a 7 or an 8. Okay, so those will be pushed down. Do know, can you go back just a second? If you don't see a course master, especially phase 2, if you did not have a course scheduled in 25-26 in Power School, it will not have created a course master for that school when you've converted over to Infinite Campus. So you can use add course master if one does not exist. Next slide. All right, looking down further, the course information page will also show this update of the state code name as well as the state defined grade level and academic level. If a course does not exist for the school in the add course, you're going to need to contact your SIS coordinator. If I've got data managers listening today, they're the ones that are going to need to add that course master to your district so that you can then see the list under add course and see that course in that list. Next slide. All right, want to let you know this is very important in Infinite Campus. Course codes have to be distinct depending on the term. So if you have a course that is offered for some of the students, they take it year-long. Other students, they may take it during a semester length. And then other students may have quarter-length course. And they all have the same state course code. You're going to need to append that course with the local digits. So for instance, if it's a semester long, you could use an S after the course number, or you could use all 3 digits, SEM for semester. You determine locally what your naming conventions and coding conventions are going to be for your course name and your course codes. Always just use the courses 8, 9, and 10. The state does control the characters 1 through 7. And there's also a link here for your term type setup. The term type override field must be filled in on the course information page. And that is where you're going to set, is this course year long? Is this course a semester long, trimester long, whatever you've got set up as a term. Okay. All right, disabled courses. Since we are just now rolling out some of these course numbers and you were needing to schedule for next year, you probably use course codes that were active in 24-25 but are no longer active in 25-26. So there is a ad hoc filter that you can run to go find which of those courses you have scheduled and how many. So if you'll run this, you're going to navigate to ad hoc reporting, go to filter designer, and then state reporting. There are actually 2 reports out here called disabled courses. One is courses exist in the calendar, and you can see it'll run by the context you have selected. So you're going to want to be in 25-26, and it will show you those courses that are no longer active. If you want to see how many sections exist, you're going to run the other report that's right below that one that shows you the sections that exist next year. So you're going to want to clean up sections before you clean up courses. Okay. All right. New that we're going to let y'all know, we do want all your courses linked to a state course code. This is helpful with data pulls by the state, with reporting. Do make sure that every course that you create, and this includes your responsive scheduling courses and any locally created courses, must be linked to a state course code when you go look at your course information. I also wanted to give you an update. I've had districts reach out wanting to know what they need to set up to make sure their students who are entering 9th grade this year in 25-26, there's the new Arts Ed graduation requirement. You do not need to set anything up. DPI is working on this, and we will have something out early this fall, tentatively around October, but we will let you know. Those kids aren't graduating yet. We will get this out there for you so that you can show them as having met this requirement. Turn it back over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cammie. All right. Last but not least, we have some upcoming training reminders. So even though we're all together on the SIS, right, our team is still here to support you. So we have various ways that we will be providing support and training and meeting with you. First, we have NC Bold. So we start next week. We hope to see some of you there. So you can see the dates for that first week is in the West. So we will be at NC Bold the 15th through the 17th. And then we will be in the East the 29th through the 31st. So we hope you are signed up and we hope to get to see you there. We have lots of great training for both phase 1 and phase 2, right? Because we're all together now. So we have beginning sessions as well as intermediate sessions. We have training for admins, counselors, data managers, teachers. So please come out and see us and get the most up-to-date information. We have our monthly in-person and virtual training. So we will keep that cadence up where we have offered regional sessions, both in person and virtual. All of that information will be found within Eventbrite. We will continue to do our conferences, right? We will have NC Bold, we will have the symposium in February, and you will also be able to see us at the Digital Leaders Exchange. So our team is out and about. If you need us, please contact your assigned SIS professional learning consultant and look for those regional opportunities. Again, everything that we are going to be doing this year, you will be able to find in Eventbrite. We are working on creating a calendar for you. If If you remember last year, we had everything in a Google document that you could scroll through and see. But we've decided this year we kind of like to look at the calendar better. So you'll have that, and that should be coming to you soon. So look forward to receiving that information. Also want to make sure you know your resources. Make sure you're checking out the Campus Community and Campus Passport. It's always good. Those videos are quick in Campus Passport if you're not sure about how to do a process, right? Don't wing it. Take that extra 4 or 5 minutes and watch that video and do it alongside the video. You have your Infinite Campus implementation team as well as our team to assist you. Please make sure you're signed up for that weekly bulletin. Again, that is our main mode of communication for you. So that goes out every Thursday, and it's going to have the latest changes to articles and updates, any type of training or anything that we are learning about Infinite Campus. You also have a crosswalk document. Again, the links there to Eventbrite and our knowledge base, as well as the ad hoc community. Those third-party office hours are still going on, so they're offered every Wednesday and Thursday. That information will be in the bulletin, so you can see about attending one of those if you have any questions about any third-party information. And that is it. We have finished. I don't know if Rob, if you'd like to add anything more.
Yeah, I would like to just add one thing. Phase one is used to hearing me say this, and I carry the same sentiment over to phase two. Implementation is not over. Just because everybody is on the system now and working on it, and it's day to day now, phase two, you still haven't done any reporting out of here. You got to do scheduling still that you've never experienced. So we have rounded a big corner. We have everybody in the state live on this system. What I please encourage all of you is please be patient. Please be flexible. We are working very fast, very hard when things are identified to get them fixed and get it right so that you have a good experience. So please just keep that in mind as we work through this year. We are in it with you. We will work to support you, but please be patient and flexible as we do that. Thank you.
And on behalf of our team, we thank you all very much. We so appreciate all the hard work you've done. We have enjoyed every minute of helping support you and learning alongside you. So please reach out if you need us, and we hope to see you soon. Have a good afternoon.